Tired of spending lots of time learning a piano piece and not really making much progress? Let me show you how to plan your practice time so you can learn a piece much faster and play it so much better. Let's get started. When you start learning a new piece of music, there is so much to remember. You've got to learn what notes to play, what fingers to use where, and then the rhythms that the piece uses. And you can't forget about the dynamics and articulation, and playing the piece at the right tempo or with the right amount of rubato. How can you learn all of these things without getting overwhelmed? The answer is breaking down the music into individual components and focusing on them one at a time. The most important part of the piece is the notes, which you'll need to learn first. Then, choose a fingering that allows you to play those notes well. Once you've mastered what notes to play and what fingers to use, then work on playing those notes with the right rhythms. The notes and rhythms are the foundation of the piece, so it's crucial to get these solid before adding more layers. Now that you have the foundation laid, then layer on the dynamics. This is how loudly or softly the piece is played, and then work on the articulation, which is the fine details of the touch, phrasing, and voicing of the music. This is a good time to start playing the piece with the damper pedal if it's needed. Finally, slowly increase the speed over time until you can play the piece at the proper tempo, using a metronome to help. You may need to play it at a constant speed with little to no rubato or with quite a bit of rubato. And rubato simply means you can slow down or speed up the music to enhance the natural push and pull of the music. Whether or not rubato is needed and how much is needed depends on the genre and the style of the piece. Working on the components of the piece in this order prevents you from being overwhelmed and allows you to give each of these areas your complete attention. You'll be impressed with how much faster you'll learn and better you'll play with this structure. Which of these areas of learning a piece do you struggle with the most? Tell me in the comments. There's a few things you can do before you even sit down at the piano that will help you learn new music faster. The first thing you'll want to do is put your phone away. Put it in another room, or at least put it on silent and keep it out of arm's reach. Texts and calls and notifications can interrupt your brain's flow state, and this distraction will really inhibit your progress. The next tip, and one of the most important, is to set goals for your practice session. Set short-term goals for this week, and then set long-term goals for the next few months or even the whole year. Knowing what the end goal is will help you practice effectively and will give you a great feeling of accomplishment. You'll always work faster when you give yourself a deadline. Also, make sure you're only learning 2 or 3 pieces at a time. Doing any more than this can be overwhelming. Setting goals is fantastic, but make sure you're not trying to do too much in one sitting. Overwhelming yourself with too much information or with music that's too hard for you will leave you really frustrated. Short practice sessions covering small amounts of music are really the most productive and enjoyable way to practice. If you want to get more done in less time during your practice sessions, you are definitely going to want to check out this great video that I made about how to practice effectively. Have you ever been at the piano and ready to start a new piece, and you're wondering where in the world should I start? Let me show you what good practice looks like so you can make the fastest progress with this new piece. The first thing you should do with a brand new piece of music is sit down with the sheet music and listen to a recording of the piece. While you're listening to the music, follow along with the score and make note of patterns or anything else that stands out to you. This step will help familiarize you with how the piece should sound and gives you an overview of the music. Next, split up the sheet music into sections. Many piano pieces are actually written in sections, which makes learning them a lot easier. Watch for changes in speed, style, or even key signature, as these will often indicate a new section. If you can't find any benchmarks like this, then just split it up into sections that make sense to you. Now that you know the basic structure of the piece, set a goal for when you want to finish it. Do you want to learn the first page this week? Or maybe you want to have half of this piece learned in a month, or the whole piece learned in 3 months. This will help you pace yourself so you're not procrastinating or trying to do too much at a time. You have an overview of the piece, and now you've set a goal for finishing it. Now it's time to start learning this music. Remember those big sections that you marked down? Pick out one of those and learn it in chunks of 2 to 4 measures at a time, as this will be much easier to remember. Once you've mastered one of these small chunks, move on to another set of 2 to 4 measures. It's a good idea to focus on one chunk per day, but if you're a quick learner, you can tackle more than that. When learning a chunk, learn it hands separately at first. Go super slow, as playing fast will slow down your learning process and introduce new mistakes. Make sure that you've learned the notes, written down the fingering where needed, and that you can confidently play each hand's part by itself. A good goal is to be able to play the separate parts 7 times in a row without playing a wrong note. Don't worry about rhythms until you can play the notes correctly. Once you can play the treble and bass parts note perfect, start putting them together. New mistakes might pop up, as this is quite different from playing the parts separately. But don't worry. Practice hands together really slowly and carefully, and with time you'll be able to master it. As you're learning the piece, make sure to write notes on your score whenever you need them. If you're constantly missing a note, write in the name. Pencil in fingerings so you're playing them consistently. Circle key changes and write in counting, whatever helps you play your best. Once you've finished practicing the material for today, sleep on it and come back to it tomorrow. Add a new chunk of music and then review what you did yesterday. Even if you forgot a lot of what you did, it should take fewer repetitions for you to play it correctly. Repeat this process of learning new chunks and reviewing old ones until you've learned the whole piece. Once you've learned the notes, fingering, and rhythms, add the dynamics, articulation, and pedal and stages. Improving the touch, phrasing, and voicing of the piece may seem subtle, but these nuances will give your playing much more depth and finesse. Finally, work on speeding up the piece and playing it at a consistent tempo or with the appropriate amount of rubato. As you learn a piece, make sure that you video yourself frequently. When you're learning music, your brain spends so much effort on processing the new information that you're not really listening to what your playing sounds like. However, when you watch and listen to yourself in a video, it gives you the advantage of being the audience, and you'll be able to spot mistakes that you didn't notice during practice. Another way to learn a piece faster is to get feedback from a piano teacher. They'll be able to give you expert advice on what to work on and some encouragement about what you're doing well. Make sure to play the piece for your family and friends and get their feedback too. Now that you know how to practice effectively, you should be able to learn a new piece in record time. Let me know which of these tips resonated the most with you. Before you go, hit that subscribe button and stick around for other great videos coming up in a few seconds. Happy piano playing!